Can you explain one of those times?
Well, the most vivid one, if you've heard of Hitler's lost U-boat, the U-869.
Yeah.
A German submarine vanished during World War II. Everyone thought they knew where it sank, but 50 years later, divers found it thousands of miles away from that spot. Inside a hidden chamber, they discovered items that suggested a secret mission nobody knew about. What was U-869 hiding? Why did authorities keep this discovery quiet? Join us as we dive into one of history's most mysterious underwater finds. The ghost sub of World War II. During World War II, the Atlantic Ocean became one of the most dangerous places on Earth. German submarines, known as U-boats, hunted Allied ships carrying supplies, troops, and equipment across the water. These underwater vessels operated in secret, striking without warning and disappearing back into the depths. The U-boat campaign represented one of Germany's most effective military strategies during the war. The German Navy deployed hundreds of U-boats throughout the conflict. These submarines worked to cut off supply lines between North America and Europe. They targeted merchant ships, military vessels, and transport convoys. Historical records show that U-boats sank thousands of Allied ships during the war years. Each successful attack disrupted the flow of materials needed to fight the war in Europe. Among these many submarines was U-869. The vessel belonged to a class called Type 9C/40. German shipyards launched this particular submarine in 1943 at a facility operated by WWII. The submarine measured nearly 250 feet in length. Engineers equipped it with 6 torpedo tubes designed for long-range attacks. The design allowed U-869 to travel across the entire Atlantic Ocean and operate in waters far from German-controlled territory. The German Navy assigned Helmut Neuerberg to command U-869. Neuerberg held the rank of captain and brought significant naval experience to the position. By late 1944, the war had turned against Germany. Allied forces were advancing on multiple fronts. Despite these setbacks, the German Navy continued sending U-boats on combat patrols. In late 1944, Naval Command ordered U-869 to begin its first combat patrol. According to surviving military documents, the mission parameters directed the submarine toward the Gibraltar area. This location held strategic importance because Allied ships passed through the narrow strait connecting the Atlantic Ocean to the Mediterranean Sea. German commanders believed U-boats operating near Gibraltar could inflict significant damage on Allied shipping. However, the German military command structure had begun falling apart by this time. Communication systems failed regularly, orders became confused. Different commanders sometimes issued conflicting instructions. Historical researchers now believe U-869 may have received new orders while already at sea. These potential mission changes were never properly recorded or documented. On February 11, 1945, 2 American naval vessels reported an engagement with an unidentified German U-boat. The ships involved were a destroyer and a Coast Guard cutter. Both vessels operated near the Gibraltar area. They detected what appeared to be a submarine and launched an attack. After the engagement, the crews reported destroying the enemy vessel. Military officials recorded this as a confirmed kill. Naval analysts examined the timing of this attack and compared it with known U-boat movements in the area. Based on their calculations, they concluded the destroyed submarine must have been U-869. The German Navy, which had collapsed along with the rest of the military by this point, provided no information to contradict this conclusion. Without any conflicting evidence, the official record stated that U-869 sank off the coast of Gibraltar. The submarine carried a crew of 56 men. All of them were listed as killed in action. No survivors emerged. No distress signals were ever received. No wreckage was recovered or photographed. The submarine simply disappeared beneath the waves and became one more entry in the massive casualty lists from World War II. For more than 40 years, this explanation remained unchallenged. Military historians accepted it as fact. The families of the crew members received notification that their loved ones had died near Gibraltar. Memorial plaques and records listed Gibraltar as the location of the sinking. The case appeared closed. However, several problems existed with this official account. First, no one ever found actual wreckage near Gibraltar that matched the characteristics of U-869. Wartime military reports often contained errors. Ships operating in combat conditions frequently misidentified targets or made incorrect assessments. The technology available at the time provided limited accuracy for tracking submarines. Second, German military documentation from this period proved incomplete or missing entirely. By 1945, the German war effort was collapsing. Radio communications broke down. Record-keeping became chaotic. Many documents were lost or deliberately destroyed. The few surviving logs contained ambiguous information that failed to clearly establish U-869's final position. Research into this case revealed another troubling detail. German U-boats maintained regular radio contact with Naval Command during missions. These communications served two purposes. They allowed submarines to report their progress and positions. They also enabled Command to send new orders or warnings about enemy activities. U-869 transmitted its last known radio message while still operating in the North Atlantic Ocean. This location sat thousands of miles away from Gibraltar. After that final transmission, complete silence followed. The submarine vanished as if the ocean had erased it from existence. No further communications occurred, no wreckage surfaced, no evidence emerged to explain what happened. For decades, U-869 remained lost, its true fate unknown, buried beneath conflicting reports and incomplete records from a chaotic time in history. The Jersey Mystery, 1991. The waters off the coast of New Jersey contain one of the largest underwater graveyards in North America. Hundreds of shipwrecks rest on the ocean floor in this area. These vessels sank for various reasons, including storms, collisions, equipment failures, and military action during wartime. For experienced wreck divers, this region offers endless opportunities for exploration and discovery. In the summer of 1991, a team of recreational wreck divers began searching for unidentified wrecks using side-scan sonar technology. The team included John Chatterton and Richie Kohler, both highly experienced technical divers. They understood the risks involved in deep-water exploration. The waters off New Jersey presented extreme challenges, including strong underwater currents, poor visibility, and cold temperatures that penetrated even the best diving suits. The team operated approximately 60 miles offshore from Point Pleasant, New Jersey. Their sonar equipment detected an unusual object resting on the ocean floor at a depth of 230 feet. The sonar image showed a long, narrow structure with a distinctive torpedo shape. The object appeared man-made and old. Its size and shape suggested something significant, but the sonar could not provide detailed identification. The divers decided to investigate. Technical diving at this depth required extensive planning and specialized equipment. They needed to use mixed gas breathing systems instead of regular compressed air. The pressure at 230 feet created dangerous conditions. Divers faced risks including nitrogen narcosis, oxygen toxicity, and decompression sickness. Each dive required careful calculation of bottom time and mandatory decompression stops during ascent. During their first descent to the wreck, the divers encountered severely limited visibility. They could see only a few feet in any direction. Silt and sediment clouded the water. The structure lay partially buried under sand and decades of accumulated fishing nets. Moving around the wreck proved difficult and time-consuming. Despite these obstacles, the divers quickly recognized what they had found. The wreck was clearly a submarine. The size indicated a large vessel, not a small coastal submarine. The discovery immediately raised questions because no records indicated any submarine losses in this location. The divers examined the exterior hull, searching for identification numbers or markings. They found none. No nameplates remained visible. No flags or national insignia could be seen. Decades of corrosion and marine growth had obscured most identifying features. The conning tower showed significant damage and partial collapse. The outer hull displayed cracks and deformations. Time and pressure had taken their toll on the metal structure. The submarine was slowly disintegrating, rusting away into the ocean floor. Without proper identification, the divers could not determine the vessel's origin or nationality. The team gave the mystery wreck a nickname. They called it U-Who. This name reflected both the submarine's likely German origin and the complete uncertainty about its identity. The divers committed to solving the mystery. They planned a series of return expeditions to gather more information and recover identifying artifacts. Each subsequent dive brought new challenges. The extreme depth limited bottom time to short periods. Divers needed to spend significantly more time decompressing than actually exploring the wreck. Weather conditions frequently canceled planned dives. Strong currents sometimes made approaching the wreck impossible. Despite these difficulties, the team persisted. Over multiple expeditions, the divers began recovering small items from inside the wreck. They found German gauges with metric measurements. They discovered pipes, valves, and instrumentation that clearly originated from German manufacturing. The evidence confirmed the submarine's nationality. This was definitely a German U-boat. However, identifying which specific U-boat remained the critical challenge. The divers recovered various personal items, including plates, bowls, and pieces of equipment. Some objects bore the Marine Eagle symbol used by the German Navy. These finds provided historical context but not specific identification. The team needed something more definitive. They needed a piece of evidence that could be traced to a particular vessel or crew member. The breakthrough came when divers discovered a butter knife. The knife showed significant corrosion but remained intact. Most importantly, someone had engraved a name into the metal. The engraving read, Hornberg. This represented a crucial piece of evidence. The name belonged to a person, not a ship or model number. This single artifact opened a path to identification. The divers began researching German naval records and crew lists. They searched for anyone named Hornberg who had served on U-boats during World War II. Their investigation led them to Georg Hornberg, a crewman officially listed as having served aboard U-869. This connection provided the first solid link between the mystery wreck and a specific submarine. The team continued their underwater archaeology work. They recovered valve manifolds and diesel engine components during later dives. These mechanical parts contained serial numbers stamped by the manufacturers. The divers traced these serial numbers back to production records from WWII, the German shipyard that built U-869. The numbers matched perfectly. After 6 years of dangerous diving and meticulous research, the civilian dive team had accomplished what military and government organizations had not. In 1997, the United States Navy officially acknowledged their findings. The submarine wreck lying off the coast of New Jersey was confirmed as U-869. Death by friendly fire or something worse? The confirmation that the wreck off New Jersey was U-869 created a new problem. Identifying the submarine answered one question, but raised another equally important mystery. How did U-869 sink? The location itself contradicted all official records. The submarine was supposed to have died near Gibraltar, yet it rested thousands of miles away off the American coast. Understanding what killed the vessel became the next challenge for researchers and historians. Investigators examined the available evidence carefully. They studied the physical damage visible on the wreck. They reviewed wartime records from both German and American sources. They analyzed the tactical situation in the Atlantic during early 1945. From this research, two primary theories emerged. Each theory had supporting evidence. Each also contained gaps that prevented complete certainty. The first theory suggested U-869 was destroyed by its own weapon. German torpedoes during World War II were sophisticated but unreliable. Engineers designed them to run straight toward their targets. However, mechanical failures occurred frequently. One particularly deadly malfunction became known as the circle runner problem. A circle runner torpedo launched normally, but then veered off course. Faulty gyroscopes or damaged control surfaces caused the weapon to curve into a wide arc instead of traveling straight. The torpedo would complete a circular path and return toward the submarine that fired it. This malfunction killed several U-boats during the war. Every submarine captain knew about this risk and feared it. Supporters of the circle runner theory believe this explains U-869's fate. They argue the submarine fired a torpedo during either combat operations or a test launch. The weapon malfunctioned immediately and began circling back. The crew had no time to react or take evasive action. The torpedo struck their own submarine and detonated against the hull. Several pieces of evidence support this explanation. First, researchers found no records indicating U-869 ever engaged an enemy vessel. No Allied ships reported torpedo attacks in that area during the relevant time period. No surviving documents mention attempted strikes by the submarine. This suggests U-869 never successfully fired at an enemy target. Second, examination of the wreck revealed significant internal blast damage. The destruction pattern appeared consistent with a torpedo detonation occurring very close to the hull. However, the damage showed characteristics of an internal explosion rather than an external attack. The force appeared to originate from inside or immediately adjacent to the submarine structure. The second major theory proposed that American naval vessels destroyed U-869 during combat operations. According to this explanation, 2 United States Navy ships detected and attacked the submarine. The vessels involved were the USS Howard D. Crowe and the USS Coiner. Both ships operated in the Atlantic during this period. On February 11, 1945, these 2 vessels reported engaging an unidentified submarine. They detected the target using sonar or hydrophone equipment. The ships launched a coordinated depth charge attack. Depth charges were explosive weapons designed to detonate underwater at specific depths. The pressure waves created by these explosions could crush submarine hulls. After the war ended, American naval records credited this engagement as a successful sinking. The report listed the target as an unidentified German U-boat. Later analysis by military historians concluded the destroyed submarine must have been U-869. Even after divers found the wreck off New Jersey decades later, the United States Navy maintained that depth charges from these 2 ships caused the sinking. This theory appeared straightforward at first examination. However, researchers identified several problems with this explanation. The first issue involved timing and location. U-869's mission orders directed it toward Gibraltar, not the American East Coast. If American ships attacked a submarine near New Jersey, why did no one connect this engagement to U-869 at the time? The submarine was not expected in that area. The second problem involved precise coordinates. The location where USS Howard D. Crowe and USS Coiner reported their attack did not exactly match the position where divers found the wreck. The 2 locations were close, but not identical. They sat near enough to suggest a connection, but far enough apart to create doubt about whether the same submarine was involved. The third issue concerned the condition of the wreck itself. Divers discovered that several torpedo tubes remained sealed. If U-869 had engaged in combat with surface ships, standard procedure required firing torpedoes. Why had the submarine apparently not launched any weapons? Why did it seem caught completely unprepared? Physical examination of the wreck provided conflicting information. The forward section showed heavy crushing and deformation. Internal compartments had imploded from intense force. This damage suggested a shock wave originating from inside the submarine rather than from depth charges exploding above it. However, certain external areas of the hull displayed deformation patterns that could align with underwater explosions nearby. One particularly striking observation involved crew positions. Skeletal remains found inside the wreck indicated no one reached escape hatches. No crew members attempted to surface. No evidence suggested any emergency procedures were initiated. Whatever destroyed U-869 happened with devastating speed. The crew died instantly without warning or time to react. Both theories contained elements of truth. Both had weaknesses that prevented definitive conclusions. The mystery of how U-869 actually died remained unsolved despite decades of investigation. The Hidden Chambers, late 2024. For more than 3 decades after the initial discovery, divers continued visiting the wreck of U-869. Each expedition faced the same limitations that plagued the original investigations. The extreme depth of 230 feet created severe time constraints. Strong underwater currents frequently made diving impossible. Poor visibility hindered exploration efforts. Water temperature at that depth remained near freezing year-round. These factors combined to make every dive dangerous and physically demanding. Despite these challenges, technological improvements gradually expanded what divers could accomplish. Better mixed gas systems allowed slightly longer bottom times. Improved underwater lighting penetrated the darkness more effectively. Advanced communication equipment enabled better coordination between team members. High-resolution cameras could document the wreck in greater detail than earlier expeditions. In late 2025, a dive team equipped with this newer technology attempted to access areas of the submarine previously considered unreachable. One section in particular had remained sealed since the submarine sank nearly 80 years earlier. Structural collapse and extreme corrosion had blocked this compartment. Attempting to enter carried significant risks. The corroded metal could collapse further. Sharp edges could tear diving suits or air hoses. Disturbing the wreckage might trigger additional structural failure. The team proceeded carefully. They worked slowly to avoid damaging the fragile remains. After extensive effort, they successfully breached the sealed section. What they found inside surprised even the most experienced members of the expedition. According to team members who spoke about the discovery under conditions of anonymity, the compartment appeared remarkably well preserved. The sealed environment had protected contents from the worst effects of saltwater corrosion. Pressure and time had still caused significant deterioration, but many items remained recognizable. The divers described the space as a time capsule frozen at the moment U-869 sank in 1945. Inside the compartment, the team found personal lockers that had belonged to crew members. Storage crates remained stacked where sailors had placed them decades earlier. Footlockers sat undisturbed. Some containers still had rubber seals that had somehow maintained partial integrity despite the ocean environment. The preservation level exceeded anything the divers had previously encountered on the wreck. However, deeper exploration of the compartment revealed items that immediately attracted attention from both historians and intelligence specialists. Sources familiar with the investigation described finding a ceremonial dagger designed for regime officers. The weapon featured elaborate decorations. Its blade reportedly bore an etched motto associated with elite naval units within the German military structure. Near the dagger, divers discovered a watertight crate that had been carefully sealed. Inside this container lay a German Marine dress uniform. The uniform remained in remarkable condition, considering its age and environment. It still displayed the Iron Eagle insignia used by German naval forces. Most significantly, the uniform included a red armband bearing a swastika symbol. Military historians noted that finding such items in this state of preservation was extremely rare. The most controversial discovery came from beneath layers of sealed documents. Divers found these papers wrapped in oilcloth, a waterproof material commonly used to protect important items at sea. Among these protected materials was a box containing Nazi political memorabilia. The box included a swastika flag that had been folded with precise military technique. The fabric showed minimal damage despite spending decades underwater. Alongside the flag, the team recovered propaganda leaflets printed in English. Analysis of these documents revealed they were designed to create discord among the American civilian population. The leaflets contained messages meant to undermine support for the war effort. Their presence on a German submarine suggested potential plans for distribution on American soil. Perhaps most intriguing was the discovery of what appeared to be a partially encrypted codebook. The book bore markings associated with the Abwehr, which served as Nazi Germany's military intelligence service during World War II. Codebooks of this type were considered highly sensitive materials. Their presence on U-869 raised immediate questions about the submarine's actual mission. The discovery team made a deliberate decision not to publicize these findings. The materials raised politically sensitive questions that authorities preferred to handle discreetly. Public revelation of Nazi memorabilia and intelligence materials could generate unwanted controversy. More importantly, the items suggested possibilities that contradicted accepted historical narratives. The combination of propaganda materials, intelligence documents, and ceremonial items indicated U-869 might have carried a mission beyond simple combat patrol. Some researchers now theorize the submarine may have been tasked with covert operations on or near American territory. This could explain why the vessel appeared off the New Jersey coast instead of near Gibraltar, where it was supposedly ordered to operate. The theory that U-869 intended to deploy operatives or materials on United States soil remained unconfirmed. However, the physical evidence recovered from the sealed compartment provided substantial support for this possibility. If accurate, this explanation would fundamentally change understanding of German intelligence operations in the Western Hemisphere during the final months of World War II. Survivor's guilt. Herbert Guszowski. Among the 56 men originally assigned to serve aboard U-869, official records listed all as casualties of war. The entire crew supposedly died when the submarine sank in early 1945. For decades, this remained the accepted historical fact. However, one name appeared on the original crew assignment list, but not on the final casualty roster. That name belonged to Herbert Guszowski. Herbert received orders assigning him as a crew member during U-869's preparation phase. He trained with the other sailors who would operate the submarine. However, shortly before the scheduled departure date, Herbert contracted an illness. Medical personnel examined him and determined he was not fit for duty. The confined spaces, limited resources, and dangerous operating environment left no room for sick crew members. Another sailor received orders to take Herbert's place. This replacement crewman underwent rapid orientation to prepare for the deployment. The personnel change represented a routine adjustment that occurred frequently in military operations. Ships and submarines regularly experienced last-minute crew modifications due to illness, injury, or administrative reassignments. Nobody considered this particular change significant at the time. U-869 left port without Herbert aboard. He remained at the naval base recovering from his illness, while his former crewmates sailed into the Atlantic Ocean. Within weeks, communication with the submarine ceased. Months later, after Germany's surrender, naval authorities compiled casualty lists. The official record stated that U-869 had been destroyed near Gibraltar, with all hands lost. Then in the 1990s, American wreck divers made their discovery off the New Jersey coast. As part of their research effort to identify the mysterious submarine, the dive team began contacting anyone with connections to U-869. They searched for surviving relatives of crew members. They sought anyone who might provide information about the vessel or its personnel. Their investigation eventually led them to Herbert. When the divers contacted him, they brought shocking news. This information directly contradicted everything Herbert had believed for more than 50 years. Researcher Richie Kohler, one of the primary divers involved in identifying the wreck, later described Herbert's initial reaction as skeptical. Herbert found the claim difficult to accept. The divers provided evidence to support their claim. They showed Herbert photographs of items recovered from the wreck site. Most convincingly, they presented images of a knife engraved with the name Georg Hornberg. Herbert immediately recognized this name. He confirmed that Georg Hornberg had indeed served as a crew member on U-869. He had known Hornberg personally during their training period. This verification proved crucial for the identification effort. Herbert's confirmation connected the recovered artifacts directly to U-869. His memories of specific crew members helped researchers verify other aspects of their findings. He recalled details about the training period and the atmosphere among the crew during those final weeks before deployment. When asked about his feelings regarding the discovery, Herbert reportedly expressed subdued emotion. He acknowledged the strange fortune that had spared his life through a simple illness. He voiced sadness for the loss of men he had trained alongside. However, he did not seek publicity or attention for his survival. He gave limited interviews and preferred to remain largely private about his connection to the submarine. Herbert's recollections helped fill gaps in the historical record. His first-hand knowledge of the crew and their preparation verified information that existed only in fragmentary documents. He represented a living link to U-869 that researchers had not expected to find. Herbert Guszowski passed away in 2005. He died without learning about the sealed compartment discovery that would occur nearly 20 years later. Whether he possessed knowledge about U-869's true mission remains unknown. He never publicly discussed any classified aspects of the submarine's orders. If he knew anything beyond what appeared in official records, he chose not to speak about it during his lifetime. Conclusion: the story of U-869 represents one of the most significant underwater archaeological discoveries of the 20th century. What began as a routine wreck diving expedition off the New Jersey coast evolved into an investigation that challenged accepted historical narratives and revealed gaps in official military records. The discovery demonstrated how even well-documented events from World War II could contain fundamental errors that persisted for decades. The identification process itself showcased the capabilities of dedicated civilian researchers. Without government funding or institutional support, a small team of recreational divers accomplished what military organizations had not. They located a lost submarine, identified it through painstaking artifact recovery, and proved that official records about its fate were completely incorrect. Their work established new standards for underwater archaeological investigation and wreck identification methodology. However, despite years of research and exploration, fundamental questions about U-869 remain unanswered. The submarine's presence off the American East Coast contradicts its documented mission orders. No clear explanation exists for why the vessel operated thousands of miles from its assigned patrol area. The discovery of intelligence materials and propaganda documents in the sealed compartment suggests possibilities that historians continue debating. The cause of the submarine's destruction also remains disputed. The Circle Runner torpedo theory provides one plausible explanation supported by physical evidence from the wreck. The depth charge attack theory offers an alternative scenario backed by American naval records. Neither explanation fully accounts for all observed damage patterns and historical inconsistencies. Some researchers believe a third unknown factor may have contributed to the sinking. The human dimension of the U-869 story adds emotional weight to the technical mystery. 56 men died aboard the submarine without ever reaching their intended destination. They left port on what they believed was a combat patrol to European waters. Instead, they died off the American coast under circumstances that remained hidden for half a century. Their families mourned them based on incorrect information about where and how they perished. Herbert Kuschowski's survival through random illness highlights the arbitrary nature of wartime fate. A simple medical condition saved his life, while the sailor who replaced him died. This chance element reminds us that behind every military statistic and casualty report were individual human beings whose lives changed through circumstances beyond their control. The U-869 investigation demonstrates how historical understanding continues evolving as new evidence emerges. What seemed settled in 1945 proved incorrect by 1997. Discoveries in 2024 raise new questions that may take additional decades to answer fully. The ocean floor holds countless similar mysteries, waiting for technology and determination to reveal them. This case also illustrates the value of questioning official narratives. The accepted explanation for U-869's fate went unchallenged for over 40 years simply because it appeared in military records. Only when civilian divers physically located the wreck did the truth begin emerging. Their work serves as a reminder that official documentation, while important, can contain significant errors that persist until someone makes the effort to verify the facts independently. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.